The world is a feast. For this small band of Homo habilis, the handyman, the African savanna is a benevolent provider. The wet season has been generous, and the grasslands are a sea of green, dotted with the vibrant colors of fruiting shrubs. Game is plentiful. Life is not easy, but it is predictable. The clan's entire existence is tied to the rhythms of this savanna ecosystem, a complex web of life that has sustained their ancestors for 1,000,000 years. They are a new and promising experiment in the story of human evolution. Their slightly larger brains and clever hands capable of shaping stone into simple, but effective Oldowan tools. An old female, whom we will call Emma, sits in the shade of an acacia tree, patiently cracking open a marula nut for her small child. She is the clan's memory, a living library of which roots are safe, which berries are sweet, which clouds promise rain. Her knowledge is the glue that holds their small community together. She feels a strange vibration in the air, the low, persistent hum that is not the familiar drone of bees. The sky to the east, once a brilliant, cloudless blue, is darkening, but not with a storm. It is a stain, a smudge of dirty brown that is growing with an unnatural speed. The hum becomes a roar. It is a sound unlike any they have ever heard, 1,000,000 dry things rubbing together at once. A sound that feels like the world itself is cracking open. The darkness in the sky is not a cloud. It is a living, breathing entity, a swirling mass of billions upon billions of desert locusts. It is a plague of prehistoric animals of biblical proportions, an ecological engine of pure destruction. The swarm descends, and the feast becomes a famine in a matter of minutes. The sun is blotted out. Day becomes a sickly, brown twilight. The noise is deafening, a physical pressure on the ears. The locusts are everywhere, a crawling, scrabbling carpet that covers every surface, every tree, every rock, every blade of grass. The green world is consumed. The leaves are stripped from the trees. The grass devoured down to the bare, red earth. The clan huddles together in their small rock shelter, their simple tools useless against an enemy they cannot fight, a force of nature they can only endure. This is the emotional turning point, a moment of collective terror and helplessness that will be seared into their minds. They listen to the sound of their world being eaten alive. The air grows thick with the sharp, acrid smell of the insects. When the swarm finally moves on, hours later, it leaves behind a silence that is more terrifying than the noise that preceded it. The sun returns to a sky that is no longer blue, but a hazy, dust-choked white. It illuminates a world that is dead, a monochrome landscape of skeletons and dust. The feast is over. This silence is a predator in the barren, skeletal landscape left by the swarm. The absence of sound is a constant reminder of the totality of their loss. There are no birds. There are no buzzing insects. The herds of gazelle and wildebeest that were the backdrop to their lives are gone, having fled the devastation. The roots and tubers they relied upon are buried under a layer of insect droppings and chewed stalks. The world is empty. Resource scarcity is no longer a seasonal concern. It is an absolute and immediate reality. Starvation begins its methodical work. The clan's meager reserves of scavenged meat are gone in a day. The children's cries, once demanding, become weak, listless whimpers. The adults grow gone, their movements slow, their eyes haunted by the gnawing emptiness in their bellies. They wander the dead land, their Oldowan tools hanging uselessly from their hands. There is nothing to butcher, nothing to scrape. This is the raw reality of prehistoric life when the ecosystem that supports it collapses. Emma watches her child fade. The boy's skin is loose. His ribs are stark caged beneath his flesh. The altruism that binds a mother to her child is a fire in her gut, a force more powerful than her own hunger. She sees the cause of their suffering everywhere, the locusts. While the swarm has moved on, countless stragglers remain, crawling over the denuded branches, a disgusting, scrabbling reminder of the plague. How people see them as the poison that killed the world. But Emma, her mind sharpened by a mother's desperation, begins to see them differently. They are not poison. They are flesh. They are the only flesh left. This is a profound intelligence point, a cognitive leap over a chasm of instinctual disgust. She traps one of the large insects under a piece of bark. It struggles, its spiny legs kicking. Everything in her recoils. But the image of her wasting child is stronger than her revulsion. Using to flat stones, she crushes it. Then, with the skill born of long practice, she creates a spark from two pieces of pyrite, igniting a small pile of the driest, most pathetic-looking twigs she can find. She impales the crushed insect on a sliver of wood and holds it over the tiny flame. The smell is alien, acrid. The insect's exoskeleton chars and pops. When it is cooked, she pulls it from the stick. For a long moment, she hesitates. This is the bitter harvest. This is the hard choice. She closes her eyes and puts a piece in her own mouth. The taste is gritty, oily, but it is rich with the unmistakable flavor of protein and fat. It is food. It is life. She turns to her child and pushes a small piece into his mouth. He chews weakly at first, then with a flicker of renewed energy, he swallows. He looks at her and for the first time in days, there is something other than dull misery in his eyes. He wants more. Homo has just pioneered the act of entomophagy, not as a curiosity, but as the only key to survival. The idea spreads through the clan like a slow, reluctant fire. When Homo offers a roasted locust to another female, the gesture is met with a grimace of revulsion, but the recipient's own child is whimpering with hunger, and the logic of survival is a brutal, compelling force, one by one. Driven by the most powerful instinct, the protection of their young, the members of the clan begin to follow Homo's lead. The disgust does not vanish, but it is overridden by necessity. The scrabbling dawn of a new economy begins. The clan, a community forced to reinvent itself, systematizes the harvest. The children, with their small, nimble fingers, are tasked with collecting the sluggish insects in the cool morning hours. The adults use their simple tools to grind the roasted locusts into a coarse, protein-rich paste, a repulsive but life-saving food source. Their intelligence, the very trait that defines them as Homo habilis, is now focused on the efficient exploitation of the very creatures that destroyed their world. This adaptation is a stark example of the kind of pressures that shape a species, a lesson in paleontology written in the dust of a ruined landscape. They survive. They live off the flesh of the plague, the scrabbling, hand-to-mouth existence on the edge of a dead world, but the experience leaves a permanent scar on their collective psyche. The world is no longer a benevolent provider. They have learned that the feast can become a famine in the space of a single sunset. This knowledge, this memory of an apocalypse, is now a part of their hominid history, a ghost that will haunt their descendants for 1,000 generations. It instills in them a new and profound respect for the fragility of their existence. Weeks later, the first green shoots begin to push their way through the ravaged earth. The rains come, washing the land clean. Slowly, tentatively, life returns. A lone gazelle, then a small herd, ventures back into the recovering valley. The clan watches their return with a new kind of eye. The immediate pressure of starvation recedes, but they do not forget the lesson of the locusts. The memory of the bitter harvest is now a part of their survival toolkit. They have learned that food can come from the most unlikely of sources. That adaptation is more important than preference. The world has been restored, but they are not the same people who inhabited it before. They are survivors, marked by the memory of the gnawing sky and the terrible, life-giving taste of the plague. The balance of their world has been re-established, but it is a harder, more cynical equilibrium, built on the knowledge of how quickly everything can be taken away. The plague of a billion wings was an ecological reset, a brutal demonstration of nature's indiscriminate power, but for the small band of hominids who endured it, it was something more, a profound lesson in cognitive flexibility. Their ability to look at the agent of their destruction and see a source of salvation is a testament to the unique resilience of the human mind. This was not a victory. It was an act of pure, desperate adaptation. The birth of entomophagy was not a choice, but a verdict, delivered by a world stripped bare. It is a story that has been repeated throughout our history, as human populations have faced famine, drought, and collapse. In the face of utter desolation, we have consistently found a way to eat the inedible, to domesticate the untamable, to innovate our way back from the brink. The locusts taught our ancestors a fundamental truth that modern anthropology continues to explore: that our greatest survival tool is not our strength or our speed, but our ability to change our minds about what is possible. We are the descendants of those who were willing to eat the monster when it was the only thing left on the menu. The bedrock of survival is not strength, but the willingness to break your own rules when they no longer serve you. What happens when the greatest monster is not a beast, but another of our own kind?